Okay, so vlog intros are really hard to film. This is like my 10th attempt. Welcome to vlog 4. This time I'm going to talk to you about honeybees. Now my mum is a beekeeper, and the other day I went with her to her apiary to have a look at the 6 hives that she keeps there. We opened up a couple of the hives and had a look around, so I thought that today I could do a kind of theory session about the beehive and also talk about the different kinds of bees that you can find at this time of year. Before you go and visit a hive, the first thing you want to make sure is that you're not going to get stung, and the way that you do that is by wearing a bee suit. I'm going to put this on and show you what it looks like over your head so you look like a spaceman. And you want to make sure that there's no gaps left here. This bit of Velcro covers up there, and then this bit just comes down. So now I am ready, except I'm not because there's more to put on. So last piece of equipment are your gloves. That's a bee suit. This is a bee suit. There are different styles that you can get, but there you go. Bee suit.
To open up a hive, the lid is removed. Beneath the lid is a wooden board called the crown board. This blocks the bees from attaching the lid to the frames below, so you can enter the hive without breaking anything.
The first section is called the super. Now this is where the honey is made.
The super is made up of frames of comb in which the bees deposit their honey for storage. Honey is made by the bees using the nectar they collect when foraging, mixed with enzymes inside their mouth. When they return to the hive, foraging honeybees will pass over the nectar-enzyme mixture to another bee through a process known as trophallaxis. They do this using their proboscis. The GALEA help to form a channel through which nectar flows, and the LABIAL PALP serve a sensory function. However, the GLOSSA, the hairy part, is what the bees use to retrieve nectar from deep within the flowers. The honey is then stored in the comb, and the worker bees will fan the comb with their wings to evaporate excess water, leaving a thick golden substance.
Next up we have the brood box. Between the super and the brood box there is a layer of mesh, and that's called the queen excluder.
The queen excluder works by physically blocking the larger queen from entering the super. This is just so she doesn't lay eggs where the honey is. The worker in this clip has obviously been out foraging and has collected an impressive amount of pollen. Many bee species collect pollen from flowers using the curbicula, a section of their leg which is concave and covered in hairs to trap pollen grains. Pollen is what the workers use to feed their larvae, so it's very important that they are able to collect plenty. Here you can see larvae at different stages of development, and in the cap cells are the pupae, which will soon emerge as fully grown worker bees.
And at the bottom there is the entrance, and this is where the bees come in and out of their hive.
Once you've taken a good look at the hive, all that's left to do is carefully put the layers back and close the lid.
So there are 3 different kinds of bee that you can find in the hive at the minute. They're all the same species, but they all take on very different roles and they all look very different. We have the worker bee. This is the most common bee that you'll find in the hive. There are tens of thousands of these. The queen, of which there is only one, and a drone, which is the male bee, and at this time of year there are a couple of hundred of them in the hive. So the worker bee, all of which are female, undertakes probably the most diverse role within the hive. They carry out lots of different jobs depending on the age that they are at. This is something called age polyethism.
As soon as a worker bee emerges from her cell, she will help to tend to the eggs and larvae as well as the queen. This keeps her within the centre of the hive. As she gets older, her tasks change, taking her further out into the hive where she helps with pollen and nectar storage, thermoregulation of the hive, and building comb.
So this is the frame. It hasn't got any comb in it at the minute because it's an old one from last summer. You fill this with wax again, like this. You will put it in here, and you can see that this has little hexagons on it, and what the bees will do is what is called drawing out the wax. Now the way they do this is pretty cool. They actually use honey to make wax, and they have wax glands in their abdomen which convert the honey into wax, which gets pushed out of their abdomen between the scales, and then it just gets picked off by the bees. They chew on it to make it malleable and soft, and then they just use it to form the wax cells, which I think is pretty cool.
So that is how bees are able to build their hive with this amazing natural material.
Their last job will be carried out externally to the hive. They'll be foraging, guarding the nest entrance, and ejecting dead bees from the bottom of the hive.
Next up is the queen, much larger than her workers and marked with a blue dot to keep track of her age and to find her more easily. The reason for her long abdomen is simply because she's the only reproductive female in the colony and therefore has a body designed for mass-scale egg laying. She can lay over 1,000 eggs a day, spending all of her time moving around the brood box. A queen can live for 2 to 3 years. That's one hell of a lot of eggs laid.
Last but by no means least is the drone bee. Now this is the only male bee that you will find in the hive. There's about 200 to 300 of these guys, and basically their only job is to reproduce. They will go out and find a queen from another hive, try and mate with her, and during this process their reproductive parts actually get ripped out of them. So once they've mated, if they don't die during the mating process, come the end of summer, the workers will kill them off to remove them from the hive.
This is so that the males don't take up essential resources needed by the female workers during the tough winter months.
So yeah, that's the 3 different kinds of bee that you will find in a beehive at this time of year.
If you want to help out honeybees, the best way to do so is by planting pollinator-friendly plants which they can use to supply their growing colony.